Welcome to Between the Brows podcast, presented by Buckventures Outdoors, where the guys talk about hunting, God, and everything in between. We've got a great show for you today, so sit back, enjoy, and let's get right into it.
Well, welcome back to episode 9 of Between the Brows. Hope y'all, if you haven't, go back and watch episode 8. It's Jeff and Tracy, Brother Ryan and Brother Noel. It's titled Biblical Truth in a Broken World. Mm-hmm. Really good talk of them just diving through the Bible, looking at the truth of God's Word in a world that doesn't know God's Word. So y'all be sure to go check that out. We got a lot to talk about today. Before we go to that, something we want to talk about. There is a benefit, I guess you could say, going on. It's the Southern Plains Outdoor Show, and I'm going to read some of this off. So it's going to be August 5th, 2023. It's going to be from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And basically what it is, it's going to be a benefit cornhole tournament for a young lady named London. She has been diagnosed with I think it's called Ewing sarcoma, which is a rare childhood cancer. So Keith Hagan, who is actually our taxidermist, put this together, and it's a benefit for her and her family to help pay for things that they've got going on. So we'd encourage y'all, if you can make it, to do it. It's going to be at the Bridge Church in Mustang, Oklahoma, which is 116 North State Highway 152 in Mustang. Again, August 5th. Sign up starts at 10 a.m. Tournament starts at noon. It's $20 a team. And then there'll be vendors and raffles and food trucks and all that.
We'll be there. I'm definitely going to be there. Any of the pro staff that wants to come will be there. It is for a great cause. It'll be fun. It's a Saturday. So. And
if you can't make it, you still feel the urge to donate, you can actually contact Keith Hagan. His number is 405-250-4477. In case you can't make it or you need more information, contact him. And, I think it'll be good. And we're praying for London and her family and everything she's going through. So, and that just brings me up, just kind of a spur of the moment I want to bring up, as Cole said that just kind of on my heart is, man, I tell you what, guys, we did the podcast last week, but one thing I just want to bring up is there's so much to pray about. And whoever you are out there, find someone to pray for. Find, you can. All you got to do is look at Facebook for a little bit, and there's a lot of people that hurt and this and that. And just remember, prayer matters. So lift people up. Find someone to lift up if you're not, and be praying for them. Absolutely. Well, it's been a little while since we've done one. There's been a lot happening going on. Our farms. Getting into the deer hunting side now, our farms are looking pretty good.
Phenomenal.
Like, I remember I think it was May, we were like, Lord, please let it rain. Like, please let it rain. Because it's been, 2 years of basically nothing. And now it's July, and we're like, Lord, please don't let it rain.
I tell you, we look like, over the last 2.5 years, we look like the worst farmers. I mean, I was like, we got all the right equipment. We were planting 3 times. We were doing this. And, I mean, we're like, well, dude, we just ain't got it. But we look like really, really, really good farmers this year.
Well, maybe we are.
Maybe we are.
We are this year.
Now, we've had, I don't know how many inches of rain in our northwest Oklahoma and Kansas farms.
It's been absolutely
like 20-something inches? I don't know for sure.
I can tell you for sure, 100%, Cole, Northwest Oklahoma is the most rain I've ever seen up there in a year. 100%.
Well, Chancey just got back from there, and it sounded like it's just grown up.
Yeah, it's grown up. I've never seen it so green. There's so much grass everywhere. The creeks and rivers are overflowing, which is good. We actually couldn't even cross one of the creeks to access, the bottom there in the alfalfa. Got a couple trucks buried, stuck. It was a pretty good trip.
Now, the one thing that you have to work for now is deer are not congregated in one spot. They are definitely hard to get inventory. I mean, usually up in that country, we pour out a bag of corn, and we could put it on a dirt road, and we can check our inventory. That's not the case this year.
No, they got so much, browse, and just they can eat and live wherever they want to. And plus we got alfalfa, you know, that I'm sure is jamming. And we were playing out Milo or head feed. And
Milo's coming up pretty good in the spots that came up. So, but just the landscape itself, so much natural browse. It's just awesome.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I want to bring up is it's a plug, but I'm going to tell you right now, from our heart to yours, the anabolic grow, it's a game changer. It's so easy. And I mean, from our stuff to Heath to Tony Smotherman's to all our pro staff guys that I'm seeing using it, it's unbelievable. It has made us look good. It is, it's way above where it would be. We're seeing things that are this tall if you use it, and are this tall if you don't. So, again, for a little bit of cost, guys, you owe it to yourself. I don't care if you're planting a quarter of an acre, get it.
Yeah, the side-by-side comparisons are undeniable. Obviously, our food plots look better than they ever have before, and it's across all of our food plots, really. But yeah, it's just been a game changer. Like
I think Noah was here last week or something, and we were actually talking about it. And I think, you know how a lot of these products are. Sometimes it can be a gimmick, you know, or whatever it may be. And I think Noah, he said he even told me he was a little skeptical of it before he used it, but he went out. Because they just bought a farm.
And they've been in a drought.
Yeah, and they've been in a drought, compared to us. And he, I think he sprayed the foliar spray on it, and he just walked it and sprayed it. And he said he went back, and he goes, you can very easily tell the difference of where he sprayed and didn't spray. It's just a distinct line of, their beans or whatever, or a foot tall, or, whatever it may be. He said, I am a true believer.
Yeah. Well, and the crazy thing is whenever you, especially with the foliar spray, you can really see how quickly it reacts. Because, I mean, you go and, you're getting good growth, but as soon as you put that on, you go back 5 days later, and the difference is just crazy.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, for the amount of money it cost us, and then what it does, it grows so much, and the deer will like it better because it has more. It's got more. It's more potent, and so yeah, it's one of those products that's a must.
Yeah. Well, speaking of farms, one of them is for sale. The old woolly grass farm.
Yeah, the woolly grass is, a tough decision. I know you guys still are hoping it don't sell. But, yeah, we have several people looking at it right now. And it's where I shot the flower buck. It's a tough deal. There's big deer all over it. It's established. There's now another alfalfa field going in. It has, it's probably got over 100 and some deer that live on it every day. But with that, we kind of found another farm too.
We found a new farm that...
Describe it.
Magical. I mean, it is going to be one, especially more. It's already good, but I think 5 years from now, when we look at this, it could be the best farm in Kansas. Like I legitimately think that it is. It's really good, and it's only
318 acres.
It's 5 miles from Woolly Grass, give or take. And we went and looked at it. We were driving around the side by side. I don't even know if I said a word. I was just like, in the back of my mind, I was like, oh my goodness, this is.
Well, there wasn't no negotiation because everybody's like,
We'll
at the very end.
Full price. We'll take
I
it.
know. That's exactly right.
Yeah. No, and my favorite part about it is, that part of the country in Kansas where we're at, it's a lot of flat. It's a lot of just open fields.
CRP.
A lot of CRP, some tree rows, some creek bottoms. But this farm didn't look like that part of Kansas. It looked like Midwest. It had good ag. It had good timber. It had good bottoms. It had creeks. It had ponds. It has it all. And it doesn't look like that part of Kansas, and it just looks phenomenal.
Well, I'll tell you the other thing, guys, I'm real excited about is obviously it's a great farm. We have the woolly grass, we have the booner, we have the triangle, but the co-op that we're putting in place up there, we got Andy Duvall, which is a pro staff guy that bought some right by us. Ryan Davis and Chad Clark have some right there that they bought. And then we have a farmer in place that doesn't let anyone hunt. So there's thousands upon thousands of acres right there. And you know, if you're out there and you're serious and you would like to get involved in the co-op, you know, we'll talk about it.
Well, hang on. I want my 80 acres first.
It'll be an application process.
Yeah, it'll be an interview process.
Yeah,
But it's going to be good. It's 318 acres. Then obviously Andy bought some right across the road. Yeah, it ought to be a sanctuary for deer, and it'll be managed.
Well, and we're trying to find a name, guys. We've come out with the hideout. We talked about the sanctuary, the refuge. It's like I said, it's got a big creek. It's actually got 2 big creeks. It's got 3 monster ponds on it. Big fish in them. It's got it's hilly. It's got farm ground. It's got it all. And just trying to figure out, like I said, the hideout kind of makes sense, but it just feels like it won't stick.
Yeah, I just need to come up with something that'll, like, I like the Caddyshack farm because you remember the Caddyshack farm. Yeah. So I just need to come up with.
Throw out some names for us if we use.
If we pick your name, we'll send you a.
Walker's Game here. We owe someone that too, so we may make sure and send that.
That's from the last podcast when you send that out. Yep. We'll come up with something. If you give us a name and we like it, we use it. We'll send you something.
Yeah.
It'll be something cool.
But yeah, we hadn't closed on it yet, but
yeah, it's August 5th supposed to close, and Lord willing.
So just kind of going into that, I know we talked about all the stuff we've done to our other farms. Obviously, when you get a farm in August, it's a little bit different than how it's been, with our other farms that we've had for a while. What, are you going to do anything different? I mean, are you going to hunt it differently than you might normally this first year, or what's your plan going into that?
Yeah, so kind of my thoughts are, we've talked about it a little bit, obviously, but we're not going to go crazy. We got a lot going on, and kind of what I want to do with this farm is, first of all, we've changed our strategy some, and we'll get into that, I guess, here in a little bit. But, we're just going to go hunt it, guys. We're probably going to throw a big feeder right in the center of it. We're going to throw out some corn on the edges of it, try to get some inventory. But, we just got a saddle. We got a brand new saddle coming. We're going to saddle hunt some. I mean, this got big trees all over it. And
it's like the only farm we own that you can use the saddle anywhere you want.
Well, the Booner you can do a lot too, but it's just, and obviously that's going to take shape and form of a big deer showing up somewhere, and where I'll be then. But this is going to be a fun farm to hunt. Excuse me. So yeah, I think that's what we do is just, let this be that sanctuary. Go in, and I can't even imagine being on this farm, Cole, and hitting the horns together, October 31st to November 15th, and just seeing what comes out of the woods.
No, you better grab your bow and be hooked on. Maybe just be at full draw already and just see. Don't tell it. It's just gonna be good. But so excited to get that farm, and we might do a fall plot maybe.
Yeah.
If there's.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I've already met with the farmer. They're putting in alfalfa. We got all that going on. We got Milo going in. Or no, not Milo this year. We got alfalfa going in. No, I don't even think we're going to be head feed. It'll be Milo or
wheat.
It'll just be wheat and alfalfa this year, and then we'll turn everything they'll be on a Milo head feed / alfalfa
rotation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we'll be doing our soybeans and stuff, but yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, kind of what you're going back to, kind of our tactic and stuff. One thing that we've been doing, or been trying to figure out, I think, for the last few years is, it's July 17th. Deer are taking shape. We've got a couple cameras out. We got 5-6 cameras out maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'll let Chancey touch on this, and he can probably explain a little better. But one issue that we've had, and we know a lot of people have, especially as our cell cams, we put them out, and you get all excited, and then they're dead in 3 days. Mm-hmm. Especially like we got one camera that on this triangle farm, it was dead in like 2 days because it got there's so many deer, and it got so many pictures. So the past couple of years, we've been trying to figure out how to fix that where we're not going in and out, not putting pressure on these farms where you don't have to, and you can put these cameras in some good areas and leave it. Mm-hmm. And so we've been doing that with big batteries, and Chancey can go on. Go ahead. I'm gonna let you
we
go
use HME too as well. Yeah. But yeah, the idea is you get a cell camera, that's the idea, is you don't put pressure on your deer. And so that's what been our challenge.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and like Northwest Oklahoma and spots where, you know, there's full sun, the HME and the Stealth Cam solar panels worked really well for us last year. I know we had a few of those out, and those literally, we had a lot of sun last year, and we didn't have to charge them up once, and it lasted literally the whole year.
And let me verify, so some people out there may not know what HME is. It's a solar panel.
Yes. Yeah. So HME is Hunting Made Easy. That's the company, and they make a solar panel that, you know, plugs into any of, you know, its any of the Stealth Cams or any of.
And it's pretty cheap. What, Academy, $30-$40? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's like 55. I think is the HME. Stealth Cam makes one as well. We really like the Stealth Cam branded one too. That it actually has a thread that threads into Stealth Cam, so you can't pull it out.
And that's
which
big,
is really nice.
You got coons crawling up your cameras,
Then
they can't pull that cord out.
They can't pull that cord out, which is huge. And yeah, so the solar panels last year worked really well for us. Now we do have a lot of spots, whether it's in Kansas or whatever, where you know, we can't get that full sun, and that's where we really rely on those big batteries. So we've kind of come up with a system where we can get you just buy an external cord. And then you hook it up to a big battery, and it's basically what it is. It's a motorcycle battery. It's an 18 amp hour battery, and it has just like the F2 terminals which you can just plug it right in, which is really nice. And you know, it lasts a long time. It usually
lasts us a year, didn't it?
It lasts us about a year, depending on what settings you have your camera on. Like if you have your settings where you're sending them every hour and it's hourly, then it'll last the whole year for sure. If you have it where it's instantaneous, sometimes it depends on how many pictures we got. Like I know there were a couple like on the Veil feeders where, you know, that's taken thousands of pictures a day. I think we used up 2 last year, which is still pretty good. And in the long run, if you think about the money,
what do they cost?
Yeah, they're only about $115. We actually get them off of Battery Junction.
Now that sounds high, but all of a sudden you start throwing Duracell's
Well,
here and there.
you talk about lithium batteries.
Yeah.
That's two deals of lithium batteries.
I know, and really, I mean, it saves you a lot of money in the long run.
And then fuel, and then the biggest thing for us is going in and out.
Yep, staying out of there.
Now, with that, we had to figure out, I think, which cord worked with specific cameras too,
Yes.
right? So, depending on which camera brand you're using, you've got to where'd you get the cords?
So the cords are off of Herd 360. That's just the website, which I'll give that guy a plug. He does a really good job. He actually makes his own cords, chew proof for varmints and all that.
Herd, how do you spell it?
Herd, Herd, 360. Yep, Herd 360. I think he's he's somewhere in the southeast, like Georgia or somewhere out of there. But he makes battery boxes. He makes all, or the whole 9 yards. So what's nice about that is he actually sells them, and each cord it'll show what camera like will be adapted. So you don't have to get on and look at the specs, and it's just there, and it's like, okay, I have a Stealth Cam. I'm gonna go get the Stealth Cam cord and send it to you in less than a week.
Yeah, so you just got to make sure to buy the right cord that matches your camera brand that you're using. Yep. So,
well, the new thing, guys, too, we just got the new cameras, the Deceptor.
I'll say the Deceptor, again, it's dead now because we hadn't taken so many pictures, but it was working really good.
Yeah, and I love it because the AT&T, Verizon, it clicks onto whatever you need out there. You don't have to tell it. It's just going to get the best service. And by gosh, we got them in places they ain't supposed to get service, and it's getting service.
Yeah, and it's taken, the picture quality seems good. Obviously, I think it's better if you go pull it off the SD card, it's going to be, I think it's 36 megapixels, which is, that's higher than some like professional cameras. But the app works good, and that's just one we've got in a place where I don't think it's going to get much sun. We got to get a battery on it or something. And it's in a place where there's a lot of deer.
Yeah, and I think it's worth going into a little bit what Jeff was just saying about the dual SIM cards. So basically what that means is, a lot of these cameras are AT&T cameras or Verizon cameras. Well, this new Deceptor has both SIM cards in it to where wherever you're at in the country, if AT&T service is better than Verizon, it's going to automatically pull off the AT&T tower. And likewise, if Verizon's better, it's automatically going to pull whichever best service. So that's huge, because I know last year there's a couple areas that AT&T works better, a couple that Verizon's, so we had to go make sure we had the Verizon camera here, the AT&T camera. Now it doesn't matter. We just go and it just pulls the best.
Well, and it's also got the which I'll let Jeff touch on the importance of. It's got the, I guess, instantaneous. Like if you need a picture of maybe you're going into hunt or something, you can click it and it will send you a picture right there, which is huge, especially like morning hunts. If you're about to walk in, you want to know, hey, is there something there? You can go on the app, click, send me a picture, whatever it is, and it'll send it to your phone, and you can make sure you're not.
It's on demand, is what it's called, and even I like the idea too of sitting on the edge of a field like these bean fields. I mean, just like this triangle field, it's on that bean field. You can just hit it the last 30 minutes. You can make it just start sending you pictures, and you can see maybe something's not triggering it, but there's big bucks back here in the back, and you can tell, oh man, there's 20 deer out there or whatever. So, yeah, it's just a great feature, and I just want to tell you guys, I've been hunting a long time. I've made a lot of mistakes, but I tell you the mistake that's being made is just remember this. These big bucks that we're hunting, they do walk around in the daylight every day. I guarantee you. We have said it. We've heard it said many times, well, he only daylighted twice last year. No, he daylighted every day. But when you take a bait site, a food plot, or whatever, and you're in and out, and even though he will daylight some around the rut or here and there, he's scared. And you've got to turn these situations into places where it's not like he knows, well, yeah, there's someone here a lot. There's someone here even once a week. Make it where you're not there. I can tell you, going back to that deal that we've talked about in here, guys, of a park or a place where no one, people are like, man, no one messes with that. There's deer out there in the daylight all the time. That is the idea. And I mean, we did that to the Booner farm last year. We did it.
Well, there's deer walking around all the time. I mean, there's the deer now, even now. They're there a couple hours before dark, at times. So, yeah.
And even now, so what we've been doing with the Booner farm, and we have a veil there pretty close to some bedding, and we've been going in with the tractor and just popping it, leaving it run, and when we need to do something with it. But again, it's on the system we have, and we're not having to go in, and that is the key. I can't stress it enough.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing too, like we talked about earlier, we've had, as far as camera goes, we've had, so much rain. Like you said, we've been putting some corn out and some Big and J, and they're hitting it some, but it's not like it typically is. It's they just got so much browse, and obviously our fields are jamming, so they're we've kind of switched, or we need to switch up. I think where some of our cameras are to get some better pics.
Well, dude, I'm trying to get decoy. I got 2 cameras out on the alfalfa. I know he's walking all around it. I ain't got a good picture of him yet.
I filmed him. He walked out. It was him and 3 other bucks maybe. They walked out. It was 2 does. We had a little corn pile over there in the alfalfa. 2 does eating on the corn pile. They didn't even look at it. They just kept going. They walked right to the middle of the alfalfa field, and then I watched them for an hour and a half. Like,
how's he look?
He looks good. I think he's the biggest he's ever been. Me and Jeff have this bet going. Jeff said Jeff thinks he's going to get 155 or bigger, and if he does, I think I got to give it up to him. I got to go on social media and just like, Jeff is the best, whatever, But I said I'll take below that because I don't think he's going to get there. But if he's not, Jeff has to make me the tenant on one of his farms for the year, and I solely get to hunt that farm.
Guys, please don't document this. That's what he's trying to do. This is not true. We just did that last.
He made the bet.
No,
he made the bet.
No, we ain't come up with. I think it's a steak dinner or something. I don't know.
That sounds like a pretty good bet.
No, I will take it.
On Cole's end, anyway.
I think decoy is going to be 149.
I will let you hunt my farm next year when you get a tag. How about that? That's pretty good right there, right? I mean, they would do it.
Like only me? Like I want the new farm, just me.
Oh my goodness.
But no, I think you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I think if he gets to 150, he'll be doing really good.
Well, I haven't seen him good enough. I ain't seen your footage. I literally, I think there was one little picture of him, but I stand by.
He's gonna have good mass. Like his tines are just. He ain't gonna have much there. Obviously, he's got. I think.
What's his eye guards? Is it 3?
I think he has 3 on that one side, but none of them are. Obviously that adds up. You have 3, but they're,
3 inches.
3 inches maybe.
Is he 6 by this year? What is he?
No, he's just a mainframe 10.
Is he mainframe 10?
With 3 eye guards on one side, I think.
Yeah,
So,
I get you.
but he looks way healthier.
He got shot
last year in the high shoulder.
Yeah.
Didn't kill him. And he didn't look good there for a
did not
while.
look
We
good,
thought he was
yeah.
going to die. And no, he looks, pretty beefed up. Looks like he's been in the weight room a little bit. So,
He's 6, so.
yeah. He's a definite shooter, and he's running the farm. He needs to go. Somebody needs to shoot him because he's running the farm. So, go ahead.
Well, we still haven't got ghosts. I mean, we ain't got a bunch of them.
Yeah.
We ain't got a bunch
they're
of them.
they're scattered
They're
everywhere.
so scattered. We got so many big bucks and guys, I'm fixing to go on vacation, so they're fixing to go move some cameras around. So hopefully, I give them the credit if they can find one of them big boys. We got the caddy buck and all kinds of bucks to find.
I think it with Ryan too. I think they just put up cameras, see if Caddy's back over there or if he's still on us. I don't know. I don't know if he summers over there and then comes over. Because last year he showed up in like October sometime, so he might summer over there to the.
So one thing about it, that Booner farm, they end up there. Golly, I don't know how many new bucks that were they just got there and they didn't just come through. They got there and they just stayed. I mean, your buck. Mm-hmm. So
Yeah, once they find it, they realize it's pretty nice over there. They don't go very far. So yeah, I mean, other than that, I don't think there's any really. Obviously, we're just looking for big deer in particular.
Well, one thing I do want to tell y'all, and if you, the system that I got in place with my new farms is alfalfa. So I would tell you kind of how we do things. Because a lot of times when you plant alfalfa, you're usually going to plant it in the fall. So you're going to be end of August, 1st of September, somewhere in there when you're going to get rain. So you prepare the field. But when you plant alfalfa the first year, you kind of lose that field. So in other words, if you just plant alfalfa's going to come up so much, but it's not going to be a big draw for you. So what we do is we plant the alfalfa, we drill it in, say north and south or whatever, and then I turn around and we drill wheat in east and west. And it gives it a cover crop and it helps your alfalfa. It's a protection deal for it. But then you have a good field to hunt. And so that is the system we use now. The next year, your first cutting will be wheat and alfalfa. And then after that, it'll clean up and it'll look just like alfalfa. And then you're off to the races anywhere from 5 to 8 years. I've seen it more on the 8-year side with what I've done. And this is what I want to tell you guys is, see, if you are a deer hunter and you got let's just say you got a 10-acre field and you plant corn, and then you want to leave it standing, whatever. See, you're drawing deer and you're doing this and that, but you're not making any money. And if you do make money on it, what happens? You cut the corn, and now you got to cut cornfield. Same thing with beans, whatever. Alfalfa is the only crop that I've ever found. I mean, first of all, in Oklahoma, it's the number one draw there is. It's got so much protein, it helps them this and that. But you make money. You make money as you're providing for the deer. So just something to think about, if you got you a farmer or if you're a farmer or whatever, if you plant alfalfa, you can make money 3 to 4 cuttings a year. You're making money. You don't have to replant it. You got some bug spray. If you got, get grasshoppers or whatever, you got some fertilizer, anabolic grow, whatever, and you're off to the races.
And I think it's pretty much year round. There might be a short time period there in late winter where they're not,
Sure.
they're not going to it. But for the most part, they're, you can hunt them on the alfalfa all year.
I find more sheds on the alfalfa back in the Wallahatchie days. Just find 40 sheds out there on an 80-acre field. So
Yeah.
I'll just tell you, coming from Indiana, soybean was king, and saw it for the first time firsthand. They walked over soybeans to go to alfalfa, and I've never seen that before in my life, and that's just a testament that in this part of the country, alfalfa is king.
Well, and I think
100%.
Just on a practical side, and this could be totally wrong, but the way my brain thinks, I mean, it's just like if you grow up on cereal or whatever, you've had cereal, but this guy over here has never had cereal, He don't like cereal because he
dude's
never
a
had
weirdo.
it. Yeah, well, but you know what I'm saying? And I mean, soybeans and corn is all there is in Indiana. And then all of a sudden, alfalfa is the rarity. And I've even seen it in parts of Kansas that way, where soybeans, you know, you get in that country like Clay Center and all that, where I hunted on the Republican River. I seen them walk across alfalfa to get soybeans. In Oklahoma and where we're at in Kansas, by gosh, they're coming to alfalfa.
Alfalfa, 100%.
And like I said, as a deer hunter, it's how I make money. It gives me that income. And again, the farmer can cut it as much as he wants. It's still good for the deer. Where, like I said, you take the soybeans and corn. I mean, if I plant a cornfield, like let's say us do it right now, as much as corn costs, and we leave 10 acres of corn, that's a pretty penny.
Well, and one thing we talked about, I think, you know, back in the day when somebody would harvest corn, you know, the equipment wasn't as good, so it would always spill a little bit.
Yeah.
Now the technology is so advanced, there ain't a
not
cob of
any
corn
food.
left in the field when you go to harvest it. So it ain't helping a whole
I
lot.
always like them guys that, you know, their old machines rattling and corn. You can just get binoculars over. Look how much corn they're dropping. Boy, let's sit there tomorrow night. But yeah.
So one thing too, just to kind of let y'all know, I'm on my end. I'm about finished up with our TV aspect of it, but we're about to go heavy into, you know, YouTube videos and keeping up to date with what we're doing on the farms. You know, whether that's, you know, we go on a little velvet tour, filming velvet footage, you know, whatever it is, we're going to do a lot of that going into this season, just so people can hold me accountable. Is I'm going to try to, you know, upload our hunts, you know, as quickly as possible. Maybe it's 2 or 3 videos a week of, you know, maybe we don't kill, it's just our encounters and, you know, the process that we're going through and how we're going about trying to hunt these specific deer. And, you know, obviously there'll be some education involved. There'll be some failures, I'm sure.
Yeah.
There'll be some awful hunts, you know, because we do have those. But I'm going to try to upload those fairly frequently. And obviously when we kill, we'll get that out as well. But
So this will just be pretty raw, just getting it out what we saw.
This will be almost like Midwest whitetail like, you know, back when Bill did his daily vlogs. I can't commit to doing a daily video. But maybe every couple of days or 3 days, you know, I'll try to put everything together and get it out so people know where we're at. So if you want to follow along with that, be sure to like our YouTube or subscribe. And then this summer, we're going to do some stuff, velvet stuff, you know, whatever it may be. I'm going to get some videos out.
This summer's here.
It is here, but I got to finish TV stuff first because that's mandatory. I got deadlines.
So
on
y'all
that.
going this week as I'm gone, going to go film some stuff maybe?
Yeah,
Yeah,
probably.
I know we definitely have to go and do some stuff on the ranch, and then obviously if you can come, then come on, let's go get some footage. But there's some work to be done that we got to do this week.
Well, I'd like to see, Kansas we could go now. Well, we on 4 farms now?
Yep.
Yeah, I own 4 farms in Kansas now.
We have access to 3, not closed on the 4th, I guess.
Yeah.
Unless you give me the green light, and then we'll go put cameras up. No.
We'll have to wait on that one, I think.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
So earlier, what do you want to go to? We can go to this, or we can go into, remember what we talked about in the office in there earlier, kind of, you know, things people can be doing now, which I think we probably touched on.
Yeah, we
some
have
of
touched on it. I would say this, you know, the inventory, I just want to dive in that a little bit. That is way more important, I believe, than people think if you're after a big deer. I mean, your inventory from here till October 1st is so important to be able to shoot. If you're managing, you know, you can start putting the shooter, non-shooter deal together, because what happens is all of a sudden, and it happens to us too, guys, we get the new deer in October as we're in the process, and then it's hard to distinguish sometimes how old he is. You have the pressure of, dang, I got my bow. Why don't we just kill this sucker? I mean, but I think that is so important for us on managing a deer, is to make sure we start doing that. The other is, I'll touch on and I'll let them talk about, is as you hang your sets right now, or maybe you have your sets up that you've had and you're going back into trim or whatever it might be, the one thing I would tell you to do is stop this year. When you go in, let's just say you go in tomorrow to one of your stands, you're hanging new set, make sure to get your compass out and see which way is what. Don't just be like, oh, that's south, but then really that's south. I mean, find that key deal and think about it. I truly believe the way I've killed a lot of big deer is just I have been fairly disciplined over time and knowing which wins. So in other words, you hang a set, tell yourself, and maybe even write it down. We do it on the Onyx app, and I'll go in there and put exactly what winds we can hunt it with. But have that in your head, because here's the deal. All of a sudden, a big deer shows up October 11th, and you start going, well, I think I can get by with that wind. No, you need to go to a dialogue that you've already got in place that told you this is what wind we're going to hunt it with. That's how you kill them deer. And if it ain't there, you wait on that time. But you have to, does that make sense? I mean, know what wind you're playing.
Well, yeah, especially when you get to know your farms and you know how deer, typically move and, throughout there. Sometimes you might be on a new farm and you don't know exactly how the deer are going to travel through there. But if you know the farm well, know what wind.
But still, I think you got to have that plan.
You got to have a plan for sure. Mm-hmm. But every time we hang a stand, that's like the first thing we do is, okay, we can hunt this with a north and northwest, and that's it. If it ain't that,
well, then you trail your access in and out. I just think that is, like I said, it's not rocket science. It's just a doggone. And like I said, the argument we come up with more than anything is people saying, well, I don't get to hunt as much as you. Well, that's almost more of a reason. You want to be a big buck guy? I mean, I don't know how many times I've had good friends tell me, say, yeah, man, we put in all this work on our farm here, and we got this neighbor. He don't hardly ever do nothing. He ain't never even on his farm, and he shoots a giant every year. He shoots our giant. Think about that. Just let that process. Maybe that's you. That is because he is not making the mistakes. You are. You're doing a lot of work, but you're doing work that is hurting you. And then he's shooting your dang deer every year because whether he's working too much and he can't get in there or whatever, it doesn't matter. The end result is he's not putting pressure and you are.
Boom.
Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to go on to this or we should?
Go ahead. Start it.
So we'll just kind of dive into it, kind of how we're setting up the farms now, and we're setting up our farms to, I feel like we all think that usually our best time to kill a buck is early, or we try to make it where we're set up where we can kill a deer opening day if the weather's right and the wind's right or whatever. So kind of dive into, our early season, I guess, hunting tactics of how we go about things, what we try to avoid.
Well, I think what he's talking about, just so y'all know, and then I'll let Chancey talk on this point, but is the controlled aspect. Obviously, you might be out there going, well, no, I read these magazines, and they shot this 2:30 in Illinois, November 15th. And obviously, we know that, and that's a fun time to hunt. But I'm talking about a controlled deal where you got a big buck, and you are, in a sense, in control. You know what he's going to do. He's not going to go over to Jim Bob's farm because he's doing this every
Still
day.
On his feeding summer pattern, basically.
On that summer pattern. And then the other big thing, guys, he's not broke up. A lot of times we get these big deer and all of a sudden they lose a half, a 2 or a 3, and now we're not going to shoot them. And so we're in control of that even. So I think that's the idea is if there's such a thing as control with a big buck, it's your best time to control the situation.
Absolutely, yeah. And everybody likes to hunt the rut because it can be exciting. It can be, action-packed. There's a lot of deer that are up on their feet during the daylight, but at the same time, it can also not be because I've probably had more Novembers. I've been a part of more Novembers where it's slower than molasses than, on fire. So, getting those early season days where deer are more predictable is important, I think. And then also, I think what we've seen is, obviously you can pattern deer more during those early season days, but then if deer are, right on the fringe, like that they're coming, and then all of a sudden you get that cold front, that might be the ticket that gets him up, 25 minutes earlier to where, he's going to be daylight. I know that was a big factor a couple years ago when you and Daniel doubled on the flyer buck and Caddyshack buck. You know, they were all over it, and then all of a sudden you got that temp drop, and heck, both of them got.
When the key was
early.
too, we hadn't been in there. That was the
Yep.
biggest key is we hadn't hunted there 5, 6, 7 days and spooked a bunch of deer. No, we waited on it.
Yep.
And had that patience, and that's what I want to tell you. Even if you got the 40 acres and you can't hunt all the time, still wait on it. That's how you kill them.
Yep.
Well, I think an early season cold front is the deadliest. Is the ticket to shoot a big deer, especially if you've got a big deer on camera and he, maybe he's been showing up. Early season, if you can get a 20-degree drop from your typical where we're at, 90 or 100 to 75 or whatever, you will. 98% chance you're going to see that deer as long as you haven't put pressure on it. He's not aware that you're there or whatever it may be. So, early season cold fronts are huge.
I think that the other thing I want you guys to realize is a big buck, his mentality right now, he's the most selfish animal that's ever lived. I can promise you. He don't care about nobody but himself, and all he's doing right now is packing on. He's at the food source that's going to give him the most fat, because he is going to chase does, and he knows that, and that's how God has made him, and that's all he cares about. Now, here's the deal. They're very sensitive. So all of a sudden you start making mistakes, even if that's out, we talk about the velvet tour. Well, let me just tell you, that can be great sitting on a hill and watching deer, but the idea even in that is making sure they don't know you're watching them. You're not putting it on pressure, because I'll tell you what a big buck will do. Just a little bit in July, August, September will move him. And that's where you got to be careful. And I think that's where we all like the rut, right? So you got to change your mentality. Then you got to be more aggressive. You got to find and move and do whatever you got to do. Still play the win, but be aggressive, and you can get by with it. I mean, heck, a deer will forget within minutes if you bump him, because all he's got is one thing on his mind. So, get that in your head, what you're dealing with.
Yeah, and that's like. So last week, Ty and I went to the Booner farm, and we were going to observe the soybeans there, and we really kind of picked out a spot where we wanted to get to, which was probably a little bit close. That way we can get some pretty good footage. We had the good wind, but we kind of got there, and the head feed was too tall where we couldn't, get to where we wanted. So we, instead of pushing in even further to get around the head feed, we backed up even further just to be safe. And, we didn't get the high speed at 80 yards type footage, but we were able to sit back. Nothing knew we were there, and we were able to, know exactly what deer went where. And to me, that's a
well, you learned the
trip.
pattern. You knew bucks then. We didn't really realize there's so many bucks bedded to the south, so we learned something. That's the idea. You learn, but don't let them learn.
Yep.
That is the idea. That's how I've always been. Is just, and it's fun, guys. All of a sudden, you can't hunt on a day, and you can go be out on the roads and drive around, or you can sit on a hill. That's fun too, and that is where you beat your neighbor. I guarantee you.
Yep. And another thing is, just like that, sitting on a hill, sitting back, watching. Obviously, a spotting scope is very important to have, but other than that, having a mag view or a phone scope or something, that way you can record through that spotting scope, not only lets you obviously, capture it for fun, but you can also record those deer, and where you may be able to, go back and rewatch it, pick out, different characteristics of bucks. I know, we were, we filmed, a few bucks in that night. I was able to watch it back and be able to really tell, because we had never seen that deer that, filmed before. So.
Yeah, and come November, that deer walks through, you may know him, say, okay, that's
Right.
the deer we think he's 3. I'm not going to, you don't just grab your bow and shoot him out of instinct or whatever it may be.
Well, I think it's, too, as we talked about the rain, this year it's more important to do what Chancey's talking about than ever, because we're not gathering that inventory within,
on cameras.
Yeah, like we have in the past. And I think it's going to be tough for a while to get that inventory.
Yeah. So kind of back to our early season, one thing we do is pretty much, I'd say 98% of the time, we are not hunting mornings early season. I think there's special situations and circumstances that's.
Well, I think
we
there's
go against
special
that.
stands. I think a chainsaw.
Yep.
We zeroed in on that. And I think it goes back to that plan, Cole. 90% of them, our stands are evenings, because you can't get in and out or whatever.
On this
But
chainsaw, just to kind of describe it, we got a 20-acre alfalfa field to the south, probably, what is that, a half mile? Mm-hmm. Probably a half mile. And we know where these deer come up to bed to the north. So this stand was 40, 50 yards off the road. Me and Eldon were walking in.
I just drop you
He'd
off.
just drop us off on the road. We'd walk in again, 40 or 50 yards, and climb up in there. We were not, we weren't just laying down a whole lot of footsteps. And the deer were still on the fields. Obviously, as when it started getting lighter, they were coming back up to bed. But it was deadly. Eldon ended up killing, shooting the, what do we call it, double main beam buck, whatever. So it's just one of those stands where you can get in. You're not busting deer. Especially if you're at a place where you can feed, deer on corn piles or something in the morning. We are not going in to hunt, We'd advise you not to go in because you're just going to bump them.
Yeah, don't try to get lucky. I hear people say it. I mean, we had a plan, and our plan was the inventory, everything that we knew was showing deer. If they did come there, it was 45 minutes after daylight. And we could do it. We could pull this off. I mean, but other than that, and even your evening stands is what you got to be careful for. When you say you got your big deer, that giant that you're hunting, I would tell you don't go in. Even if you got the good wind, it's 93 degrees, it's 93 degrees, it's 93 degrees or whatever, and that deer is there in the dark. Why would you go in until you get what Chancey's talking about, that cold front or cold, whatever? Now, again, if it's 93 degrees and he's been there every day,
go kill him.
Go kill him. But don't try to get lucky because it's October 1st and he's going to change something, because he probably ain't unless you got something forcing him to change.
Yeah.
So, definitely watch your morning hunts.
I guess going back to stand locations, obviously, especially early season, we're typically hunting food sources. In your opinion, when we're setting up stands, are you more focused on being on the edge of those food sources, or are you setting up between their bedding and food sources, or is it a mixture of both? Kind of what your...
Yeah, I think my mentality is obviously the farms that we do now, a lot of them are set up for it. I think of West Beans. Mm-hmm. So we set that up. We set that idea up of the head feed out in front of the blind, where in the evenings we've went in and we've had the northeast wind, and we've watched and we wait until it's dark, and then we can get out. And the idea is that nothing knows we're there. Now, I think to answer that question is real complicated to me, or more in depth, is we are setting up access first to make sure that is the deal. And then the other is, I think the word hunt with us is not, a lot of times early season, we don't use that. We're going in to kill. We've made the decision. We've gathered the facts, if you will, and based on what we think and what we've already predetermined, it's time to go put this in place. Obviously, it doesn't happen every time, so we don't kill. Then we back up and we get out of there and we deal with what's happened. And then so again, I just think it's the edge of the field. If that's where you kill him, if that's what the data is showing, go do it. But be careful with your thoughts, and I think the deal is the desire and the obsession, if you will. You got to kick that out. You got to go kind of with the facts of what you've, determined in your mind, predetermined, and then that's what you go by. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. And I think, obviously access in is very important, but the access out, especially if you're on the edge of a field where there's going to be a bunch of deer after dark, you got to be able to get out without busting that field, which kind of takes me to, again, we've talked about this, in that circumstance where you are on the edge of a field, maybe you thought you're going to go in and kill, doesn't happen, and now you got 50 deer out in front of you. Let's just say you don't have a great way to get out. Do you think it's better to walk out, or do you think it's better, if possible, to have somebody come drive their pickup in there and pick you up and bust fill the truck?
That's a great point, and I think the deal is the pickup. I think it's the farmer. Now, the other thing I want to bring up with that, Cole, and you've really experienced this a lot, is the dark 30. Don't get there right after dark and think, okay, we're just going to get out of here. Wait. Have patience even then, because I'm going to tell you, you get an hour after dark, deer are different. And the same thing in the morning. I mean, me and Cole have started, we go in early. I mean, we've literally put a flashlight on a deer right at the stand, and it's just dark, and he's just...
It was a shooter.
Yeah.
It's that big 8.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden we're running late, right? And you're right there at that 15-minute, 10-minute deal. They're back into that.
Survival
I'm
mode.
telling you, it's a big difference. So, and I kind of learned that from coon hunting with my dad, being out there with the wheat lights and this and that, and you walk up on a deer, whether it's a doe or big buck, whatever, and they're just in a different zone, if you will.
Well, our North Dakota hunt with Mo, it was, we knew Mo was out in the field. We didn't know exactly where. We just knew he was out there with a bunch of other deer, and we waited an hour and a half after dark one night. And then we walked around a mile and a half through the marsh.
Gosh.
It was just so we didn't spook this deer. It was rough.
Well, it'd been better if that would have turned out better.
Yeah,
but we do. We try to do, again, it ain't always right, but just come up with that predetermined plan and then execute it. And that's just discipline. Have discipline and respect these big bucks the way they think, because I'm going to tell you, it's the wildest animal there is, and that's what you have to do to be able to kill them consistent.
So, in your opinion, if possible, if you can have somebody pick you up to, if you're on that field or whatever, to bust that field up with the pickup. But let's just say you have a great, a stand where you have great access, you can get out without doing it. You would, say probably get out.
I mean, I would say this too, Cole, is the pickup, I think, is the greatest deal. But all of a sudden you do that 3-4 nights in a row, I'm telling you, you're going to lose your field.
Yeah,
you're going to lose your field where they're not coming out as much or whatever. I mean, I think you have to continue whatever it is. And, we all don't want to ever spook a deer, but, I don't want people thinking we never spook one, because we do. I mean, but you just adjust on the fly, and you continue. Again, it's not like you hunt 5 days in a row in a stand and think you're going to get by with that. It usually, you've just screwed up. You got to pick your times.
Yeah.
And that's also sometimes, you can kind of get away with it with whether it's food plot architecture or, just kind of going the extra mile. So like a lot of our food plots, if we have blinds on food plots, we always put head feed in front of our blinds. That way,
which is basically a screen, so people understand.
Yeah, which is a screen. It's 10 foot up. So when it gets dark, we can slip out of the blind, and there's a block between there and the food source where we can slip out a lot. And I mean, you can do that with tree stands too. Getting brush or whatever and just stacking it up. If you have that good, entry exit,
Sure.
Just having a little bit of visual barrier to where you can slip out the back.
Well, and one thing, and maybe Cole could even put this up at some point as a diagram. I want to give you a perfect scenario. A lot of times, people think, okay, you get to win in your face, but I'm going to give you a perfect scenario, which would be perfect if you had the perfect set. So in other words, I'm walking in, and I'm going to use a set that we have. I'm walking in, and I'm walking straight east into my stand, okay? So I'm walking straight east, and I'm playing a diagonal wind. It's a wind like this. It's a northeast wind, okay? So, and again, could I have this wind and it work? Yes. But this northeast wind and even this east wind, those two winds is what I want to play. Now, could I play a north? My deer are bedding to my left.
To the
north, and they're coming out, and they're coming across my face. And then they eat here at something I have designed, and then I got the big destination field that we designed out here, and then they turn and go this way. So the idea is, because see, sometimes, again, we play winds in our face, but let's just roll this scenario. Our scenario, the bucks come out, the flyer buck is how we shot this deer. We had to deal with 25 does and other bucks coming here, but then it got here, we had this crosswind, and then they went on out here. Now, if we have a straight north, what happens is you get 20, 25 does. What happens? Something gets downwind of you. So that's the perfect scenario, is that side type wind. And again, I don't know if that makes sense, but a lot of times I am playing a wind in my face where deer are coming straight at me, and then they're feeding back behind me. You see the difference, because all of a sudden, you've got dealt with 30 Sallies that came by you. Before long, they're going to get you, and then the blow keep the deer from the big buck or whatever. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, that goes back to, I think, to knowing the farm. We've had a few years, and we pretty much knew how the deer were using, coming from their bed into feed. And so we knew, northeast or east, you're pretty much bulletproof. I mean, there shouldn't, for the most part, nothing's going to get behind you. So that's just kind of I don't know, just learning your farm as you go. Just kind of knowing.
That's your deer come from your left to your right. And instead of setting up with your back to the right and you're facing the deer, you set up this other way so they cross your face. Mm-hmm. That is a key deal. If you can do it. Now, again, we don't. This is a perfect design.
This is a perfect design. They don't all work like that. Mm-hmm. There's times especially in places where you got a lot of deer, there's times you might get busted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and just in general, I think, this may sound basic, but just making sure that your wind is always going somewhere where deer are, there's a high percentage that a deer's not going to go. So, I used to do it all the time where I would set up tree stands where I'm like, well, the deer where I'm going to shoot him, he's not going to win me. Well, what about where he's coming from or all the does are coming from? What about where they're going? Mm-hmm. That's just where the deer are, going to travel and where you're going to shoot them out in front of you isn't the only spot where you got to worry about your wind. It's just, it's from the time you get in the tree to the time you exit.
Yeah, the 20 deer before he shows up, where are they going to end up?
Mm-hmm.
So, well, is that it? I mean, it's a pretty good stuff.
Yeah, I got to go to vacation, and I would like to continue this conversation, maybe another one of diving into deep stuff. I mean, stuff that we do from even, we really started the scrape trees out in front of us. The other thing I think to dive into is baiting. I mean, how we do bait, and even how we bait with the cameras, and then making sure, talking about all of a sudden you get bait too close, what's going to happen, whether we a lot of times use bait way out there, different things like that. I think there's still lots to talk about.
Well, and Jeff gets back way out. Well, like I said, I've almost got my TV stuff done. We're about to get rolling on podcasts and YouTube videos and all that. So we'll have more coming down the road. You gonna do a walk by faith segment, or you got anything? Or
well, walk by faith. So I would just encourage everyone out there to, remember our purpose is we all have a purpose. We all have a platform, and just remember that the story of Christ is not just a story; it's the truth, and it's it's a deal that Christ died for us. He literally died on a cross while we were yet sinners, Romans 5:8. So make that the most important thing of your life. I mean, I had to apologize even to my wife, as I said last week, man, I've been really, really busy. It's been so crazy. I haven't spent as much time with the Lord as I should have. And that is a no-go. That is a recipe as a father, as a husband, as a man, as anyone. That shouldn't be the case. Christ should be first. So I would just challenge you, I mean, especially men, to lead, and to lead in that is make sure that we're spending that time with Christ. So, yeah.
Yep. All right, guys. Well, just a reminder about the Southern Plains Outdoor Show. It is going to be August 5th. In Mustang, Oklahoma, at the Bridge Church. So that's to help support London and her family. She's been diagnosed with a rare cancer. So if you have the ability to support that or come out and support it, we would encourage you to be there. We'll be there. Our TV shows, we're still going. Season 20 of Buckventures is happening. This is episode 4 this week with Wesley, which is in Hudson. It's going to be I think our best episode of the year.
You need to make sure and tune in. I mean, tune in to all of them, but I'm telling you right now, this is a big time.
So Buckventures, main air times are Thursdays at 7:30 and 11:30 Eastern on the Outdoor Channel. And then the Woodsman season, 5 or 6? 5 is happening now on Sportsman Channel. It's been great so far. Been telling a lot of good stories of our pro staff and the deer they've shot. So, and that's on Wednesdays, 9:00 Eastern. So
that one right there will make you tear up about every week.
Yeah, somehow we're always crying.
Yeah.
Y'all be sure to check those out. Follow us on our socials. Subscribe to our YouTube. What else am I missing?
I was just going to reemphasize YouTube, socials. Whatever we're doing on a day-to-day basis. That's how we're putting our content out. So if you're in the mood, give us a follow,
Subscribe, or leave us alone.
Whatever you want to do.
Or whatever you want to do. Just
Whatever
come back
you
and watch the videos. But yeah, I think that's it, guys. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. Remember, as we always say, shoot by sight and walk by faith.